My name's Drew. I was born March 5th, 1984 in Atlanta, Georgia. I grew up in a very normal Christian background where we went to church every Sunday, but something around the age of 16 just kind of went haywire. I was in the military. I did all the high-speed stuff. I was in all the jumping out of all the planes and shooting all the big guns and running around with all the high-speed units, and it wasn't a place where they condone a low-risk lifestyle where Christ was at the center of all your thoughts. So I ended up getting deployed to Iraq. I think we were still in Baghdad at the time. We went to an IP station, and while we were doing that, 2 large VBIEDs went off. And we ended up rolling up that street, and there were bodies laying all over the place, and there were burning cars. And that day, 177 people, I think it was, got killed or wounded. So how could that kind of evil be present in the world? And there's a loving God? I just couldn't fathom that. So my life began to go down a path of destruction and not caring and just living for the moment. And the only consequences that I would have to those actions were the ones that man put on me. And that was limited. I mean, the units I was in, it was encouraged to go out and drink heavily and sleep with women and have a good time. So that's exactly what I did. I married my sweetheart. We had some bitter back and forth going on, and because we were both gripped pretty heavy in addiction. We ended up in a place where she had to leave me. It led me down a path that I never thought I would be. I was kicked out of the Army for possession of heroin. I lost everything, my wife, my kid, my family. They turned their back on me. But what I found is in that low moment, when I had nothing else to hold on to, the only thing I could do was cry out to God. I just pray that, God, if you'll get me out of this situation, I'll see it through. I will see through whatever you have for me. For the last 15 months, I've been through all kinds of heartaches and all kinds of problems. And it hasn't been the prettiest thing. I mean, I've had problems with authority, and I've had thoughts of wanting to leave and just do it on my own, but those thoughts come, they go. I'm able to show others that God is a God of restoration and that His promises are true. All those years of being selfish and just living for myself and really fighting on the devil's team, all that stuff has been restored to me. My daughter is back in my life. My wife and I are reuniting. Our marriage is being reconciled to us. Whatever situation you're in and whatever hopelessness you found yourself in where you think there's just no other way out, I promise you there is, but it's in Christ. 2 Corinthians, Paul says, all this is from God who reconciled us to Himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That God was reconciling the world to Himself in Christ, not counting men's sins against them. And He has committed to us the message of reconciliation. We are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making His appeal through us. We implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. God made Him who had no sin to be sin for us, that in Him we might become the righteousness of God. God brought me back to Himself. I'm no longer His enemy. The answer to my problems and yours is Jesus.